Second, this is the request to make the provisions at Okura operative, and everyone around the table will be aware that the court proceedings have now concluded and in favour of the council's position, and we can applaud that. Can I ask Austin Fox and John Dogood, please, to come to the table? Are they here? Behind me. Okay, thank you, John. I'll ask you first to speak to the paper, and then we'll take questions and comments.
Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. So a fairly straightforward matter, this one. Normally these items will come to the Planning Committee. Most of you will be familiar with that. The provisions for Okura were appealed by a number of appellants. Council was successful in the Environment Court in defending its decision. This relates to the urban boundary in that location and the zoning of the land to the north of the urban boundary. The matter was appealed to the High Court, and then the High Court appeal was withdrawn by Okura Holdings Limited. So at that point, Council can now make the provisions operative. There are no further challenges to the provisions for the urban boundary and the Okura catchment, and it's a fairly procedural matter.
Thank you very much, but it does reflect the fact that we were successful and the land will now be protected. Speaking list, Chris Darby, first call.
Just a question, because it's confirmation. My inquiry to you yesterday under paragraph 7, John, I was just a little bit concerned to see that the High Court hadn't formally confirmed the withdrawal, but I understand, following my conversation with you, our legal counsel contacted the court and they have confirmed that. That's all complete.
Apologies, through the Mayor, I should have confirmed that. As of 6 o'clock last night, we had that final confirmation from the High Court that the appeal has been, it's no longer on the High Court's files. It wasn't technically required, but we did follow up with the High Court, and it's now done and dusted.
Okay, I think that confirms what we're all expecting.
Yeah, thanks for raising that. Thanks for following that up. When you have a 20-plus year history on the subject, you want to make sure everything's crossed and everything's dotted. So when I spotted that, I thought, no, maybe we just go and ask the court. And I know it's a little bit irregular to go to the court, but I appreciate the staff just making a very a gentle approach to the court to get that confirmed. So just briefly, I want to thank John, as General Manager of Plans and Places, Chief Executive. Thank you for your whole team on this. I guess this is an opportunity also to thank my colleagues who are appointed by the Planning Committee to deal with all the appeals, and I hope I get all the names right, but there's, from the IMSB, there's Leanne Namani, Councillor Hulse, Councillor Hills, Councillor Filipina, Councillor Lee, myself. Have I missed somebody, folks? I hope not. But thank you to all those councillors and members of the IMSB who have been head down resolving a lot of appeals to the unitary plan over the last 3 years, and we are, like, at this time today 99.5% at least operative. John, I think we've got very little outstanding, so huge work. This one goes back a long way, 2 decades plus. It crosses 2 councils, this council and the former North Shore City Council. And the political arm and the executive arm has always been aligned on this. It's been outstanding collaboration, as you'd expect, between the management and the political arms over those years. I do want to take my hat off to the community, though, the Long Bay Great Park Society, Fiona McLaughlin, Chris Bethany, real champions there. And up in the Hibiscus Bays, Julia Parfitt being the chair there. The Mayor and Councillors today, all of you, and all the Mayor and Councillors from 2013 to 16, Mayor Len, and the councillors then, for not just accepting the Independent Hearings Panel recommendation to us. And before that, the North Shore City Councillors and the mayors. I've addressed the staff. This is 20 plus years, and we are now moving to the appropriate protection for that land, but we're also moving towards the appropriate protection for the blue space as well, and that is abutting this land, the Long Bay Okura Marine Reserve. a very important body of not just water, it's an ecosystem. So on that note, thank you to all those that have been involved. This has been a big journey, and we have concluded this under this council, under your leadership, Mayor Phil, and resolved a very thorny issue that goes back a long way. I do want to express also thanks to Okura Holdings Limited for not pursuing this. Let's all bind up now and keep carrying on and building a great Long Bay Okura area.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for those comments. Councillor Wayne Walker.
Sure, it'd be great to have it as a park, but that's another step. Just got a question for you, John, and that is my assumption, correct me if I'm wrong, is that making this operative still does not ensure some form of walkway connection reserve from Long Bay to Okura.
Through the Mayor, that would require the council to acquire that land, as the land is currently in lifestyle type subdivision. The opportunity for that reserve would really require an intervention by council to acquire a coastal walkway. Part of the land is in council ownership, but then there's a gap between Okura Village and the Long Bay Regional Park. So that missing link is still there, and that's an opportunity for a future conversation.
Chance for a future council. All good.
Thank you. Are there any, Councillor, I think we're merging probably into comments, so Councillor John Watson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm not going to be going back 20 years, but I will go back 3 years to August 2016 when this matter came up before the Unitary Plan Committee. The original recommendation for the councillors who were around at that time from the independent hearing panel and also from our officers was to agree to the urban zonings and the amended rural-urban boundary at that time. And in fact, the Mayor of the time made it clear that he was going to support that recommendation. However, if you remember that dramatic time, for literally 5 days during that week, members of the Long Bay Okura Great Park Society, the Keep Okura Green, and a whole lot of people from the East Coast Bays turned up dutifully each and every day. And if you also recall that very moving silent gesture when the whole packed gallery stood up as the council was about to make the decision on that, that was a very moving and gesture, and what it did reveal was the phenomenal commitment of the people in those organisations and indeed the people of the East Coast Bays for well over a decade in fighting to save this beautiful, pristine part of Auckland. Since that time, I must commend the way our officers have taken this up, both in coming up with the justification for that original decision during the Unitary Plan and also in terms of the court action to the Environment Court. So thank you very much for the way you've pursued that. Thank you very much for the way you've taken on board the subsequent attempts to address sedimentation and in that area as well. So, Mr. Mayor, I think that the closing of the loop today is very appropriate, but I just think that it's very, very important for people to realise that if that decision had been made at that point as recommended, there would have been no recourse, there would have been no right of appeal. Okura have been well on the way to the 750, 1,000 houses that they were seeking to develop there. But I know that it has come at a huge cost, financial, approaching seven-figure sum for the community who have fundraised over that time to mount appeals, and also perhaps less tangible, but the huge commitment in terms of time. And basically it's been the cause of a number of people for the latter part of their lives, literally for decades. So they are the heroes in this, and I duly commend them and acknowledge them today. Thank you to those people. You've made Auckland and this special part of Auckland safe for future generations.
Thank you.
We will never give up our rights to fight for what's right. Oh no, we will not, we will not. We will never give up our rights to fight for what's right. Oh no, we will not, we will not.
Consult with mana whenua, consult with tangata whenua. Stop selling off our land and doing things without our word, without our involvement.
Be transparent to my whānau, my neighbours. I care about them. I live in that community. I pay rates. I am supposed to be able to go up to the manga through that public road. How dare you not consult me? How dare you?
The council must be part of the solution to protect the humatau for future generations. Tuturua whiti whakapaua kia tina! Tina! Huihe!
The related issues that go to improving our fund for regional parks. So there are a number of related issues here that effectively go to the next term of council in order to resolve this issue and related issues such as Ihamatao.
Thank you. Are there any further speakers to the motion before us? Otherwise, I'll move the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Carried. Item number 12 is a very brief item, so I think we'll take that ahead of Miriam. On 11 I'm talking about now. I think Councillor Simpson, you would wish to move this. I'm happy to second it. The Performance Review and Value for Money Committee's review of the legal and risk paper. So if I can ask who we've got here, Ross Chirnside and Kevin Ramsey to come forward, please.
Good morning, councillors. Legal and risk is the final value for money report that we'll report back for this term of council. Legal and risk are key enablers in delivering for Auckland, and we saw great evidence of them acting as enablers rather than roadblocks. So overall, the review was positive. There were 3 recommendations agreed by the APR VFM committee. One was actually for us to do some more work around risk as a group and understanding what the consolidated perspective of risks as we build up in from multiple entities. One was actually there's opportunities to improve the efficiency of the Auckland Council legal team around better use of technology and encourage them to develop a business case in that regard. And actually, with this insurance renewal, we've started to take a more long-term approach to insurance, and we encourage that approach should be continued.
Thank you very much, Ross. Councillor Simpson, did you want to ask any questions or speak to this? I think it's a pretty straightforward paper.
I'm just happy to, absolutely put the last piece of work stream together in front of this committee, and I commend Ross and Kevin for the work that they have done behind the scenes to deliver this work program. for the term. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, and if I can add my vote of thanks to that, this committee has, the committee and the officers supporting it have worked really hard to make some significant advances in the value for money area. And every dollar that we can spend better is better service and better infrastructure for our community. And we've been able to reinvest quite a lot of resource that might otherwise have gone into areas where we gained very little return to areas where we can provide real services to our community and to all of our residents. Are there any other questions or comments that any councillor wants to make on this? Otherwise, I'll put the motion. Sorry, Councillor Cooper.
Just quickly, Mr Mayor, I suppose it actually also speaks to Miriam Dean's report about more cooperation as well. The more we can talk together as a council family, CCOs and the Auckland Council group talking together, it's actually better for Auckland. So this is just another piece of work we're doing where we're cooperating and collaborating in a much more positive way.
I think that's a very good point. When the council was set up with its then 6 or 7 CCOs, probably more initial thought could have been given by the legislators to how we avoided the duplication of function of those councils, of the council-controlled organisations and our own council. And I think we've made real progress in the last 3 years to making sure we don't have that duplication and we don't have that waste. But we still have some distance to go. And I want to acknowledge the Chief Executive, Stephen Town, for working really hard in this space with the Chief Executives of the CCOs. We will save some hundreds of millions of dollars by doing things better. If there's no other comment, I'll move the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. To the contrary, no, carry.